Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's live stream. Let's talk about the major pivots that we have to, talk about today. Everything should be under control as far as volatility goes, but there are some potential pops. I'd like to see the Bitcoin chart, please. You know, with such an aggressive upward trend, we do need to at least account for retracements. And, well, we've done a pretty good job of that retracement. Also, just since we let Litecoin up first, what is going on? Okay. Well, it was buffering for a second. Sorry, folks. Anyway, there is a pretty good sign here on Litecoin. We have both a CCI roll down, and we're right on top of that longest overexpanded period. So, shorting that isn't the worst idea. Taking a short here on Litecoin, betting on trend continuation for one final lower low might treat you well. Just do be aware if you do break inside that pivot, you would result in an upward trend. So let's actually take a look at Bitcoin, okay? Okay. Goodness gracious, what a chart. Let's do top down, right? Macro to micro. So, first and foremost, the biggest thing I want to point out is the similarities to the gold chart, because that's going to be my new meme. That's what I'm going to keep on going over every stream. XAU, USD, G, because that one has the longest history. Beautiful. And we're going to swap it to the monthly chart, just so we can have a good understanding on why these charts are just so damn similar. Okay? Okay. Bitcoin has seen the exact same kind of retracement that gold has seen. So that's why I'm super hesitant to short anything at this time, because to be honest, these charts are essentially identical. Well, I don't want to bet against identical charts. Right, it's the same as since the previous crash pattern rejected at the weekly 50 MA, which would have been here. And now it's actually following the gold fractal instead, which is pretty cool. Now that ended up working out. So we had the initial bull run, the compressionary period, the initial bull run followed by the compressionary period, and that nice scooping bottom, which then results in significant upward trend. And there are several flags on the way with significant retracements on those flags to boot. Even on gold, here in the monthly candles, we had 25% drawdown there and a 35% drawdown there. Right? It's not really a good idea to try to short the uptrend, though. You just want to buy the swing lows of the uptrend. So that's really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to catch those swing lows. And that's actually really cool. Hold on. These drawdowns, these patterns, which are virtually identical. Honestly, that's pretty bizarre. Like, even the candle patterns are the same, where you have the two wicks to the upside, and then the initial first wick to the downside, and then a secondary lower low that immediately scoops back up. So if we actually see this bullish confirmation here, I'm going to flip out, because that's really going to result in serious trend continuation. I would love to see that. So I'm long right now. I know we have a bearish mean reversion on the shorter time frames, but market condition has changed. We are in a state of expansion. I do not want to bet against that trend. As long as this trend is defined, and it is, at least on the daily chart, and the 2-day chart for that matter, we should bet on sustained trend continuation. So, that's why I'm long. I know it carries a lot of risk right now, but it's a clean chart. So, let's talk about the micro time frames, shall we? 4-hour chart, where to begin? Also, looking at that 2-day volume is really nice. right? Those repeated peaks of increasing volume. And let's be honest, guys, every time Bitcoin does go on a bull run, there are significant retracements. It's just part of the game. I believe this is one of those retracements. Might dip a little bit deeper, who knows? Might go down to 8,300. Just make sure your liquidation price isn't, above. Just kidding. Let's not talk about leverage. Anyway, ideally, you should use your long entry as the daily quad CCI roll. So, 14 period CCI, which is right here. When we see 14 period cross itself up above the negative 100 value on the daily chart, that is going to be your long signal for trend continuation on Bitcoin. It's very reliable for trend continuations, especially during bull runs. And I'm just going to show you how that might have performed in the previous bull run as far as catching exact swing lows go. Right, every time you get a 14 period CCI roll, you buy. So you buy here. You buy, let's see, here and here. So you would have stopped out at one of those. But here's the thing, guys. When you stop out of this one, you lose 7%. But when you enter the next trade, well, guess what you make? Oh, 200%. So not every CCI roll is going to work out for you. You shouldn't bet everything on a single one. What you should do is enter them anyway. Because even if you stop out and you re-enter the next CCI roll, well, I've got good news for you. You might just end up hitting the winning streak. So every time you hit that 14 period CCI roll, you really should consider taking a long position. Because it does perform well and you do get significant trend. So, and I'm going to turn the logarithmic off here for a second so you guys can just understand the scale of this trend. Very nice. The nice little compressing range. I do miss this back here. I ended up taking profit on this candle, and I never really got a chance to re-enter. So I entered back here, and now I'm down just a bit, but I am still expecting trend continuation. Okay? So, with that in mind, that's it. Lower time frames, 4-hour chart. Nice. So, nothing on the 4-hour chart we can really comment on except the 605 period mean reversion. That's completing just fine. As far as the 1-hour chart goes, we should have a sense of downward expansion. Of course, quad CCI still applies down here. So, you should bet on trend continuation in this scenario. You could short the top of this, wait for the CCI roll down, but as soon as you get that bullish mean reversion condition active, might scoop up into a nice long position. Of course, I am willing to hold for this brief downtrend. Of course, CCI roll on the daily is still your preferred entry point. As far as the 14 period chart goes, we should have a clear downward expansion here, which is following with this current active mean reversion condition. And we can actually use ACAT to identify that clearly. Let's just wait for this condition to load, right? Because this downward trend here results in this plume of mass, which generates this band. And we actually look like we still need to have one last higher high to at least 10,000. And at that point, we might see a rejection or a break above the mean itself would be rather good for Bitcoin, okay? Although shorting the mean itself might be a good play because you do have this confluence of resistance here. 10,100 because you can also account for a large number of stop losses right above the 10,000 value. Simply because people like big round numbers, and whenever you have a big round number, well, you could generally bet that there's going to be a large number of stop losses directly on the other side of it. So, as far as risk management goes, you should probably place your sell order a little bit above, maybe like 10,200, and then your stop loss even above that. Of course, you do have this shorter term trend against longer term trend. Just be aware that when this downward trend ends, the upward trend in theory should resume. Okay, that's it for Bitcoin today. It has been a pleasure. I'll see you all later. Very nice. Let's go ahead and check the YouTube comments and see what I can touch up on. Carlos says, how do you confirm reversals after 3.2 standard deviation tags? Like on Euro GBP. Well, let's go ahead and take a look. Generally, you can just bet on a red candle close after. That works just fine. Okay. So your GBP, and you also have to account for current wave PM readings. If you're in a state of comprehensive net expansion, it's generally a pretty bad idea to bet against the swing high of trend. It's much better to just get the swing low, even if you do end up getting a good 3.2 tag. Yeah, red candle close afterwards worked just fine. Which does carry its own risk, but like for instance, you can even load up the same period of the 3.2 on a lower time frame and attempt shorter term entry on that time frame as well. For instance, if you have serious upward expansion like this, where you're going to get a mean reversion condition on the 15-minute chart, right? Because that kind of significant upward expansion like this generates its own plume of mass, which generates its own mean reversion condition. So you look for the confluence of that 3.2 standard deviation and the completing mean reversion condition based on ACAT, okay? So confluence is key. ACAT's not going to display that correctly. We want to take a look at the 90 period, right? So you could actually use the basic 1/10 rule, so you could do 90 uncheck and 90. All right, so your actual entry on the 3.2 standard deviation tag is going to be the 1/10 period CCI tag, or 3.2 standard deviation tag. Check out XRP-BTC, and I had pretty strong hands through that dip there. I'm gonna admit that. Strong hands. My contract expires in September, so hopefully we'll get some bullish price action before then. XRP, long-term mean reversion pivot's still really far away on that 350 period. ACAT should show that pretty well. Let's take a look. Got another comment here by Kurt Smock. What's your thoughts on must fill the gap crowd? I don't think it makes any intuitive sense on why the CME gap ever needs to be filled. And that's just me. I've never traded with CME gaps in my life. That's it. That's all I gotta say on XRP. Okay. Might reject from that 3.2. I'm sorry, the locks 1.25. But that's really the only significant sign that I see there. Okay. Let's click on a random chart. Let's look at CDT. Oh, hell. Is that oversold? I would like to know. 3.2 standard deviation tag to the downside. It's close. I don't want to deal with that. Let's move on. Yeah, it looks like we got a lot of swing lows, but we could also be flagging. Dash, maybe? No. Oh, this is not set to the period I want it to. Let's just... Okay. That was interesting. DNT, eh? It's pretty an aggressive trend, though. And there's no mean reversion condition. Too overexpanded. No condition. Downward trickle. Really nothing that apt. Oh, that's good. Not only is that textbook breakout, but actually the CCI or the wave PM cross did imply downward expansion, but now it's up. We broke this super obvious trend line, which is concerning. Everything is below 0.9. Oh, that's tough. Okay. I guess you could wait for breakout confirmation and then try to catch the CCI roll. It's going to be your best bet. So 14 period CCI roll to the upside. It's going to be your cleanest entry. Okay. Sorry, I was just satisfying my own curiosity there. Okay. Cairo, I actually don't wait for candle close because I like to take risks. And I actually do end up stopping out more often because of it. Like on Bitcoin. That's a good weekly chart. Oh my god, buy the dip. Yeah, so on the daily chart, I actually got stopped out on here because earlier in the day the CCI roll had completely crossed and then it ended up dumping. So yeah, you do end up stopping out more. Okay, that's it. Stream's over. Hey, the viewership's good today. Wednesday, yeah. Get your final questions in. I will oblige you. Show me what you got. Come on. All right, no questions. Stream's over. See you folks. Have a good day.